Hey everybody, I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, everyone? Alan Jouban here.
Welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. Big things going on this week. We can talk UFC Calgary. We can preview 227. But Alan, how's your neck feeling? Last time we were talking about your injury. You feeling better? I'm hoping.
It's actually getting better. I just don't know if it's like on its way to being healed, but the pain is definitely a lot better. So I'm taking that as a positive thing. But I still have to wait and get cleared by another doctor to see if I'm gonna have to get the epidural or not. But definitely feeling better.
Cool. Okay, so you're still not quite returning to training though, because you're dealing with the pain still.
Yeah. But I think I'm gonna go try going on a run today just to see if that aggravates it or not. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't, then I can maybe start taking those baby steps back.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you try to book some modeling gigs in the meantime? At least if you don't have to turn blue steel too much, you could at least still crank that out.
I'm down to take some. I did actually did like an acting gig the other day for this show called Layers. It was a pilot only, but it was a pilot for the show called Layers. They had Forrest Griffin come in and doing a part, and he
Cool.
canceled the night before. And they called me up the night before and said, "Hey, we'll write you into the script in
Yeah.
place of Forrest Griffin." And I was like, "I'm down." So I did it, jumped in there, and it was a bit short notice, and I had to brush up on my acting skills, but it was fun. It was a
Very
fun thing to
cool.
do.
Very cool. Well, as people can tell, obviously we're not together yet because I'm on the road. Turns out I'm going to start doing some sideline reporting for Fox NFL, so I'm very excited. So I am
Nice.
at they have this big Fox football retreat down here at
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful resort, and so like this morning. They bring in a bunch of execs and stuff from the NFL to talk about some of the new rules changes, which is some interesting stuff. Actually, a lot of the things this year that they're doing are to try to save people from getting more concussions and stuff. So
Right.
there's some rule changes, which I know it's going to be weird because some people are going to be like, I just want them to play football. Like, stop, changing all these rules and calling penalties. But ultimately, the idea is to make it safer for people.
Yeah.
And you and I both know, we know how much concussions suck. So I'm glad they're doing that. But so it's interesting. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of people, but it's cool. Good group of people. It's something I've always wanted to do. It doesn't mean I'm taking away from the fight stuff. That's still the primary gig. Still doing. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
But the sideline reporting will get mixed into it, and I'm wicked psyched. So
How much, Karyn? How much do you need to brush up on your football skills? Because like me, I grew up Louisiana South, and the
yeah,
South football is life, and I knew everything about football. But then now I'm so much into the fight game that
right.
I need to polish off my football, all the new rules over the years. How about you? Where are you at on that?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing because I've been a football fan all my life, and so I've always watched it. It's always been on my radar, and I know a lot about it. But yeah, there are things, even just in this meeting, nuances to certain rules. I'm like, oh, that's why they called it that way. Like even stuff that
Gotcha.
is considered a catch versus not a catch, or what causes the fumble. Like just some of these
Yeah.
things that it's great because these are the people that make the rules. So when they're explaining that stuff to you, it's great. But for sure, I definitely need to brush up on everything and remember who does what and like what, that kind of thing. But luckily, with sideline reporting, again, it's not like I'm out there, calling a play and talking about the analytics of a nickel defense. Do you know what I mean? It's
Right.
still it's still interviewing, it's still talking to people, it's still living in the moment of what's happening on the field. So I think it's going to be cool. I'm totally psyched, man. I can't even wait. I can't even wait. So
I'm psyched for you. I think you're gonna kill it. I think
thank
once
you.
they recognize, once they see your energy and enthusiasm, it's
Yeah.
gonna lead to more stuff. So
Well,
I'm happy for you.
thank you. And also, I know that a lot of football players are fight fans. You know what I mean? So I know that
Yeah.
I'll be like hanging on the sidelines. First couple of my games, I'm doing some Falcons games at Falcons. And I know, T Wood's good friends with these guys, Brian Stan. So I know it'll be, they'll have some familiarity. So it'll be cool. But, we're here for the fight stuff. Calgary totally delivered. Your boy
Yes.
Lafayette, Louisiana, stand up.
Yeah.
Dude,
Man.
Poirier's the real deal, man. That was such a good performance.
He's the real deal. I mean, there's no question about it. It looks as if Khabib is still going to want the Conor fight, and that might
Right.
likely happen. But in my eyes, Poirier was kind of before this conversation. He was in that conversation,
Yeah.
but he was kind of the odd man out. He was kind
Mm-hmm.
of the fifth wheel, just because you had like guys like Tony who were stripped of the belt, or guys like that. But after this performance, and you look at his last couple of performances with Poirier, he put away Pettis. He put away Eddie Alvarez. He put away Gaethje.
Gaethje, yeah.
I mean, he's winning fights. He's main eventing, and he's finishing some guys, tough guys, former champions. He's the real deal, man. He's a solid fighter, and I don't think he's going to get that big money fight next, but he's probably one fight away from it.
Yeah, because we had Dana at the desk after the show, and he said, yeah, the idea definitely is to have Khabib and Conor fight later this year, and for Dustin, depending on how quickly they can make that happen, that might be October or November. That wouldn't necessarily mean too long of a time for him to have to sit out and wait. He kind of was saying it depends on how long it could be, whether or not he would take another fight. And I understand. I think he's in a position where he's earned a title shot, but I can't discount Tony Ferguson. Tony's the man. To me, Tony is still a champion. He didn't lose the fight. You know what I mean? He got injured. So to me, I personally think whoever, Conor Khabib, if that happens, I personally would want to see Tony get the next shot. But I feel at the same time Dustin has earned a title shot. So I'm a little conflicted with that.
It's a tough one. And I'm conflicted personally, but with what if they make Tony versus Dustin Poirier happen?
Well, what a great fight.
Yeah, what a great fight. But then what do I do? Then who do I root for?
You're screwed.
It's tough. Yeah, it's so tough. And then, how do you break down that fight? Because any fight that you break down against Tony Ferguson is tough because he's so has that X factor of the scramble. But then a guy like Dustin Poirier is such. He said it in his post-fight interview that he maybe only has 30 fights or so on his record, but he said there's a bunch of fights that he hasn't been accounted for.
Right.
And this was his almost close to 40th professional fight, and it shows because he does the high percentage stuff. He's in the pocket, everything's tight. He's throwing high percentage punches. If he's in on a takedown and it's not there, he lets it go.
Yeah.
He just knows how to control his rhythm, his stamina, the speed of the fight, the distance, and he looks like a constant professional when he's fighting at a high level. He looked impeccable to me, man. He looked so good in that fight. And look, this is a fight against Alvarez. Alvarez was almost selling me on the win, Karyn. He kept saying, I saw something in the fight.
Same here.
I saw Dustin break. I know what I saw. I watched the fight over and over. And I'm thinking, damn, only the guy who fought against the guy really knows what he's talking about right there. Or maybe you watch with your coaches and you can say, look, this is what I'm talking about. And he saw something, and he had me believing that. But at the same time, I was thinking, I felt like Dustin was walking away with that fight until the illegal knees, until he got caught before the illegal knees.
Right.
But Alvarez was making me second-guess myself until Dustin went out there and put on last night, Saturday night.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of feel the same way. I've always been a supporter of Dustin. I always think he's going to do well in a fight, but there was something this week that I was like, or last week rather, that I was like, I don't know, man. Eddie looks like he's in the zone. He just seems, he was saying, like you said, saying the right things. He seemed to be so there. And so this could go either way. And I thought it was going to be a harder fight for Dustin than it actually ended up to be, if that makes sense. Dustin was so technically sound that he actually made it look a little easier than I thought it was going to be. One thing I do want to say about the elbows, when Dustin was talking with us after the show, we were talking about those elbows that Eddie threw. And we were having this whole conversation as to whether they were illegal or not. And yes, they were illegal, but they didn't land, right? So they didn't actually do anything. And so he's having this conversation. If you see him in the octagon, he's like, the ref comes over and Dustin's like, no, I'm good. Like basically, please don't stop it for that because it didn't land.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, it's not a problem. And so we were on the show and we were talking about that. And I said, oh, but it wasn't illegal. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're so stupid. You totally don't know the rules. So yes, I was wrong to say they weren't illegal, but that was my whole point. It was like the fact that if the fight had been stopped because of an illegal blow that didn't land, I would have been heartbroken. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yes, technically it is an illegal blow, but it's like there was that other fight, I think it was on the Florida card where, with Jeremy Stevens, that time with Josh Emmett. And yes, it was a illegal knee that he threw, but it didn't land and it really didn't have an impact on the fight finishing sequence. And really that was my point with that whole thing with those elbows is not that they weren't illegal, that I misspoke about that, but that they shouldn't have been a reason to stop the fight or take a point away. Yeah,
that would have been can you imagine the fight, this fight halted again because of some controversy? It would have been horrible to see that. I'm glad the fight was able to play out, and the ref made the right decision. He threw an illegal. elbow. If it landed or not, it was an illegal move.
Right.
And so he didn't take a point. He said, okay, I'm taking away your position. That way it's kind of a slap on the wrist. And the fight played out. And, it was a dominant position that Eddie Alvarez was in. But the problem with that position is you're in a dominant control position. But in order to control the guy, you got to give all your hips into his chest against the cage, which Eddie was doing. But when you give your hips against the guy's chest, you have no power in the hands. So Dustin was being held down, but in this uncomfortable position, guys' crotches in your face and you're on your butt. But he didn't ever feel, you can see Dustin was like, okay, let me just weather this storm because I'm not getting knocked out right here.
Right.
I'm not going to get beat up too bad. I'm going to get a couple 50% punches, but they're arm punches. So it wasn't like, for people that are arguing, oh, if the ref hadn't stood it up, the fight might have ended. I don't see that argument at all because it was a dominant position, but he wasn't in a position to finish the fight in terms of knockout. Or Eddie's not really known for his submissions or anything as well. Right. So it was the right move. The thing, Karyn, that I've been thinking about this morning was, why is Eddie Alvarez having these slip-ups?
Yeah.
He's got so many fights. We've seen him fight throughout the years in every organization. He's been a champion on almost every level that he's been with every organization he's been with. You saw his coach say elbow, right? But you can't blame his coach because his coach was doing this,
Right.
And we know what's legal, what's not legal. Eddie saw him said elbow, and what he did in return, he did a 12-6 elbow.
Right.
And if you look at the picture, he was grabbing the cage. He was grabbing the cage illegal, downward elbow illegal. When your coach calls elbow, what made him go to that spot?
Right.
Because he's not new, and something just made him have a brain fart, and I don't know why he's having these brain farts in these big fights.
I agree with you, and maybe part of it is we were talking to about it. There was this one quote he said on Road to the Octagon or whatever, and I asked him about it in the pre-fight interview too, because he said, Dustin is a great athlete, but I'm a real fighter. And I think that's what it is. Like, I think there's something in him that it truly is a fighter mentality of like, I'm just got to finish this stuff right now. You know what I mean? And so maybe the fighter instinct, the raw viciousness of wanting to just win and finish this fight overrides the logic of, hey, this isn't allowed.
Right.
I don't know, but I agree with you. It's frustrating. And, it was a tough spot for him. That was the last fight in his contract. I hope he stays with the UFC. Obviously, he was in Bellator before and was a champion and, like, did great things for them. But I hope that he stays in the UFC because I think he's great.
Yeah. No, it would be a tragedy if we let him slip away. I mean, he's been in every other organization. Right. He's finally in the UFC. And look, the performances that he's put on, his wins, his losses, he's got that one of the most violent men in UFC type title. He's enjoyable to watch, so I hope we can keep him. But as you were just kind of alluding to with him, I think it's kind of a brain slip up with him where his fighter mentality overrides the logical decision making, and he's doing these type of things because he did it 2 fights in a row. I think either way, the fights were probably going to have him losing. I'm Eddie Alvarez fan, but with swinging Dustin favorite in my opinion. Yeah. But I think Eddie Alvarez is just making bad decisions in those fights. But nonetheless, it was a great fight. The first round was a little slow. They were kind of working on making some adjustments, but it picked up in the second round. And did you see Eddie Alvarez's face going into the corner to the second round? Like, it looked like he was holding his own with Dustin, but he was accumulating a lot more damage than Dustin Poirier was.
Well, absolutely. Well, I got to be honest with you. Like, I really, really was looking forward to that rematch. But once Jose Aldo won his fight, I was like, I'm good. I was like, peace out. I was like, my main event just went down. Yeah. I have the utmost respect for Jeremy Stephens. He is an incredible fighter, and he's a really solid dude outside of the octagon as well. I don't have to get into it, but one time I had a conversation with him that just really made me respect him a lot. And I already had, but it really just like kicked it up to the next level. That said, Aldo has been one of my favorite fighters forever. You know what I mean? I always used to think like if I was a fighter, I would want to fight like Jose Aldo. You know what I mean? Those kicks, he's just a savage. And what I love about him too is that outside of it, like to me, he's got one of the warmest smiles in the world. Like he, and I know for a fact we have a lot of mutual friends, and I know what a kind-hearted person he is. but I also know how much that fight meant to him and how his back was against the wall. And, like he was having self-doubt. There was a lot going in there. Am I still, as great as I can be? So the fact that, and he made me nervous. I mean, Jeremy almost had him. And the fact that Jose's chin held up, I thought was amazing because a lot of people can't because Jeremy hits like a truck. But to me, that win was so gratifying. For in a comeback sense of the story, in a overcoming his own adversity, and just for the history of the sport to see somebody, and the fact is he's only 31 years old still, but obviously a legend in the sport for so long. But like, to me, it was both heartwarming and like totally badass and savage, and I freaking loved it. And I also am less worried about Jeremy because I just still feel like Jeremy has way more time. You know what I mean? So I think a hiccup for Jeremy at this point, losing to Jose Aldo, absolutely zero shame in that. I think it's a little hiccup, a bump in the road for Jeremy, and it would have been tragedy for Jose. And gotta say, I'm glad he won.
100%. I'm glad that we all got to witness Aldo redeeming himself.
Yeah.
He's had his highs and lows. He's had a lot of highs.
Yeah.
But he's had his lows as of lately, and it's not the Aldo that we're used to watching. So for him to go out there on a big fight card against a tough opponent and redeem yourself in that type of fashion, you could see the emotions just pouring out. I mean, it was a beautiful liver shot, and he landed it and dropped him, and it didn't take long for the emotions to come out. And you saw his coaches come in and rejoice and celebrate with him and everything. And I was with you on that. I was kind of lost in the moment, happy for him, even though I picked Stevens in this fight because of the momentum.
Right.
And I think that he kind of felt that. I think that Aldo felt the pressure that a lot of people were probably siding with Stevens and thinking that maybe Aldo was past his prime, or the young lions had kind of came in and moved on, showing that he still had it. That was a big win, but it made me feel really good for him, a guy that's accomplished so much in his career, to still show those type of emotions and passions that he has with a simple win like this. Let's say a simple win, but he's had much bigger wins in his career.
Yeah.
But when you're going through those highs and lows in your fight, and you have an opportunity to redeem yourself in that type of fashion, and then your pure emotion comes out, it was great to see. It was a great moment. I was like you, like every fight, as soon as the main card started, Karyn, I was like, oh, this fight's on, okay, dope. And then Joanna Champ started fighting. Joanna Jedrzejczyk started fighting. Like, oh, this is gonna be a good one. And then Jose Aldo's next. It was a solid card, and we need to get into this too. I heard they had horrible ratings, which is mind blowing, but such a solid card and great performance by Aldo.
Yeah, that Aldo was amazing, and I also loved afterwards his show of respect, to Max Holloway, wishing him well, and then Max just getting back to him on Twitter, like they're just class acts. Whether or not Jose gets another title shot ever, I'm not going to worry about like right now, but I just think that was tremendous. I mean, I'm not going to lie. If Max had to be out for a long time and they put Ortega versus Aldo, that would be kind of dope. But I mean, I really do want Bryant to get his shot at Max, so I just too also pray for Max, to heal up and be back to running things. But yeah, the rating thing I don't quite understand either, because the Joanna fight with Tecia, the first round did start out with Tecia really trying to lock her up. You can tell that she was really trying to neutralize that reach advantage that Joanna had and really try to shut down her striking game. The whole time in that first round, I kept thinking to myself, who's getting more tired, Tecia or Joanna? Because Joanna really fought it off quite well. She had a decent sprawl against the cage. I mean, she did a lot of work. She was able to turn things around sometimes, put Tecia against the cage. Like, there was so much back and forth with those two, with the overhooks and the underhooks and this and that. But the whole time I just kept thinking, who's getting more tired? I feel like Ticia's like a little tank. She just like, so I felt like she could do that all day. But at the same time, is it mentally exhausting to keep trying to do that to Joanna and not get the result you want?
With no success. You just said it, with no success. She didn't really have any success. She might have got Joanna down for a minute, but I'm sure she popped back up, because I don't really remember a dominant takedown during that fight. And it wasn't the barn burner of a fight that we've seen a lot of both of these girls put on. But I enjoyed, like you said, I'm glad you caught that, all the little technical aspects of the underhooks, the overhooks, the switch, and the left, right on the cage. I was kind of enjoying that because I knew what type of fight it was. It was a fight where Tecia was trying to close the distance, get Joanna down where she can close the range and have a more dominant grappling performance. But Joanna's a girl that has faced these type of fighters her entire career. she became champion facing these type of girls. She won the belt from a grappler,
Totally.
and from then on went and had doubles and maybe even trilogies. I mean, she, all the best, toughest grapplers in the division.
Yep.
She has been able to find a way to get through, and that's why I had faith in Joanna.
Yeah.
Not only being able to avoid the takedown of Tecia, but not get too fatigued, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
She could do it because she's done it for 5 rounds.
Right.
She should be able to do it for 3 rounds, but she did a good job. And like I said, some of the, I tweeted during that fight, and some people were saying, that was a snooze fest, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Joanna getting back on the winning track, and I enjoyed the little technical aspects of that fight.
Yeah, I don't think it was a snooze fest at all. I mean, there were times when they were cats in a bag.
Right.
I mean, they were going right at it.
Yeah.
So to me, it wasn't a snooze fest at all. And if anything, too, yeah, I mean, Joanna has always been such a technical fighter, and she needed to go back to that. You know what I mean? She had to ensure herself this win. This woman was total back against the wall with 2 losses, trying to get another title shot. I felt confident in picking her to win that fight. But yeah, I think Tecia put up a hell of a battle. And, for Joanna, though, I think she was kind of joking. Like, she didn't even really have to warm up too much, because since it was only a 3-round fight, and, this is a woman who's been doing nothing but 5-round title fights now for the last how many years. And so for her to get back to a 3-round fight, not that it was easy, but it was easier for her. But I do think, we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Andrade fighting in September. To me, that woman should get the next shot. As big of a Joanna supporter as I am, and what an incredible fighter I think she is, as long as Rose is the champion, I don't know that I need to see that fight again. So I feel like the winner of the other fight should be next.
And I agree. I mean, I love watching Joanna fight, but we want to see other matchups. We want to see other styles and build other names as well.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to happen. You can't give somebody 3 fights and then if they lose all 3, then what happens? Then there's no way you're going to see that again. So let some other stuff happen in the division. Speaking of that, and speaking of Rose, I saw on Instagram, Pat Barry posted a picture of like a camper.
Yeah,
like
they're driving out.
And they're like, we're on our way to LA for UFC 227. So I guess the champ and her man, they packed up all the stuff. They put the belt in the camper, and they're driving to LA for the fight. So guys, be on the lookout for a camper, and like we don't see enough of them.
I know, right? A camper with a couple of badasses in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool. I'm curious what your take on Hernandez is. He comes into the UFC on a 1-week notice, took out Beneil Dariush in seconds with a knockout. Then he takes out Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I mean, this is a guy who he's pretty confident when you hear or read interviews with him. And I thought, it was funny. I kind of I expected sort of a different fight from him, but this is a guy that's kind of an interesting addition to that lightweight landscape.
Big time. I forgot about that fight. I'm glad you brought it up, because he's a guy, I only know of him what I have seen of him in his UFC career.
Yeah.
What I have seen of him in his UFC career, he's a killer. I mean, you come in on short notice and you take on 2 top guys in the division. Yeah. You put one guy away in the Beneil, and then you go against Olivier Mercier, and you grapple him for the majority of the fight.
Right.
And this is Olivier's world. He's had tremendous amount of success in the grappling department. He's out-grappled basically most every fighter he's gone against throughout his career. I've worked with him a little bit, and when I went to Vegas one time, he's a phenomenal grappler.
Yep.
To see this kid come in here, I didn't know a lot about him, but he came off of a big knockout. That was how I got to meet him. He knocked out Beneil, and to see him go in there and out grapple, or at least hang with Olivier in the grappling and shoot takedowns in on him, was mind blowing. And he's obviously looks like a strong kid, a very fit kid. He's got that explosive side to him. So he's got all the factors that he needs. And look, you're getting thrown to the sharks. You make your UFC debut against names and top guys. Now yes, every fight gets harder, but it's not like he was eased into this.
Right.
He was thrown into it, and he passed the test of flying colors.
Totally. Yeah, no, I got to keep an eye on him too, because, before he got in the UFC, he wasn't really on my radar, and now he's 2-0 in the UFC against solid talent. And that's what I meant by that wasn't the fight I expected, because I didn't think he would go to the ground with Aubin-Mercier, because that's where he lives and that's where he excels. I know he got that knockout over Evan Dunham and stuff, but I really expected for Hernandez to try to keep it on the feet. So I was impressed with him. Yeah, regardless, I don't care what the ratings were. I thought Calgary was awesome. The fans there were totally cool. I had a great time. So yeah, I thought it was a very successful event.
Yeah, it was an amazing event. Amazing. I mean, that card. I mean, that could compare against some pay-per-view cards. I mean,
Yeah,
there was no belts on the line, and that's why you can't. But the name and star power and the matchmaking and the fights, it
yeah.
all really delivered. You know, if there was too many things going on in the market where it was too saturated at the time, or maybe this card wasn't promoted, and I don't know, but this one was out of the fighters' hands. The fighters came. There was no last-minute
Right.
cancellations. Nobody got hurt. The fighters delivered on the night of the fights. And some people were saying, "Oh, there was no names on the card." These are names.
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, we didn't have Ronda Rousey, but these are
How is
anybody's.
Jose Aldo not a name?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. These are former champs. We had what, 3 former
Yeah,
champs, or
yeah. 3
possibly
former
more.
champs.
And guys like Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. I mean,
Yeah.
guys that have been main eventing. Joanna. This is a card. This is a name. This isn't a pay-per-view John Jones DC type of.
Right.
But for a free card on Fox, this is names. This is fights. It delivered. So sad to hear about the ratings, but we got what we wanted on our end.
I think so. Well, on Saturday we have UFC 227. Cody and TJ are going to run it back. If people remember, the first round of the first fight, Cody almost had TJ out, and it's that whole woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? If there was maybe 15 more seconds on the clock, maybe it would have been and still. But TJ turned it around. It became and new. It's so funny because to me they're not the exact same fighter, right? But there's so much in common with them, and there's just so much similarity that I find it hard to pick. Like, I feel like this is one of those fights that you could argue either way. But since we know each of them can hurt the other, but it is funny. Like, I wonder, we're kind of talking about this. I was working with Dominic and stuff, obviously, but like, is part of their problem, what is part of the anger that they are so similar, right? And that maybe they're actually like, their feelings are just hurt that the other one's gone. Like, maybe, and I'm not trying to, project or whatever, but they're so angry about the split, but maybe it's hurt more than anger. I don't know.
When you have people that are so much alike, but they're on opposing sides, it becomes a conflict. When you have 2 alpha males, no pun intended,
right?
And now they're fighting each other, and they have I mean, you said the similarity, other than everything that they do for a living. I mean, they both are just new fathers.
Yeah.
They have all those qualities, those similarities, and you saw a little bit of it. I felt like I saw during the interviews, Karyn, I saw Cody start to show a bit of a softer side, because TJ was kind of going along with the trash talk or the back and forth, and Cody said something like, we're both new fathers, and we have that in common, and I hope we just put on a good show for our kids or something like that. And I was like, wow, look at him kind of being honest, if you will, rather than just doing the trash talk or whatever. So I think the similarities, TJ said it to Cody one time. You're gonna see, man, when you're a dad, and you have your kids watching, or you have that focus now. And I think Cody realizes what he's talking about. But nonetheless, it's going to be such a great fight. When I look at this fight, though, the things that stand out is the momentum, the confidence that TJ has to have going into this, but most importantly, that he took the power shots from Cody Garbrandt and he survived them. He may have been saved by the bell, but he survived it nonetheless. He didn't go to sleep, and he was able to withstand the storm, come back, and knock him out. And that does a lot for your confidence when you're scared that I can't get hit with this punch because it might put my lights out.
Right.
And he knows now, I can weather that storm. I don't want to get hit by it, but I've weathered the storm, and I put him away, and it gives him a tremendous amount of confidence going forward into this fight.
Yeah, I agree. But Cody's got that power, but he can withstand it. I don't know how this one's going to play out. I mean, it might just be one of those things where it comes down to the stare down on Friday, and who looks more. I don't know what. I just love it, and I also think maybe part of it too is TJ wearing the snake as his logo now, just like embracing that part is kind of emboldened him too. I don't know. I just love that matchup. I think it's great, and it's one of those things where part of me, TJ obviously wants to get a fight with Demetrious. if TJ is victorious and Demetrious is victorious, you know, maybe they can make that super fight. But there's also a part of me that would be totally okay with Cody winning and we get a trilogy of TJ Cody. Do you know what I mean? So, because, you know, as good as Henry Cejudo is getting, and he's definitely getting better, and obviously any day, you know, anything can happen. But Demetrious just seems to be so flawless. You know, I just was having a conversation with somebody here at the retreat. They were like, yeah, but you know, Demetrious fights, you know, they're all like, why do you even have to watch? And I'm like, because they said, well, you know what's going to happen. You know he's going to win. And I was like, well, but how is he going to win if he's going to win? And then, you know, another guy's like, yeah, that ridiculous suplex armbar thing, you know. So that's the thing is, you know, I always find Demetrious totally compelling because he is so sound at everything. Like, to me, that's poetry in motion.
Yeah, and you know, it would be really interesting to see him face some adversity.
Yeah.
Will we get it in this fight? I'm not sure, but we haven't had to see him face that much adversity. I don't mean that like he's had it in an easy road, but like you said, he's so spectacular that he's able to finish people with their best at. He finishes people in different fashions every time. He finishes them at 1 second left in the entire fight. What happens if he does get clipped and we have to see him come back, or he's in a bad position or in a submission and he has to fight his way out of it and then come back and show, not like he needs to show anymore that he's a true champion. He's a true champion through and through, but I would like to see some adversity in this fight. I still, like you said, though, it's hard to go against Demetrious. I don't think that his opponent could have gotten that much better in that amount of time. I think he did get better, Cejudo.
Yeah.
But I think it levels away from where Demetrious is at right now. Nobody's going to be able to touch Demetrious. And you said it as well. Nothing would make me happier at the end of the night than if Demetrious won and TJ won, and then it's set up. TJ got on the microphone and said, you know, Demetrious called him out and set up the super fight. They're on the same card, the timing. I think it would set up such a huge brawl. I would love to see that, obviously, but that would be my picks, those two for that. And then if those two guys won, I would love to see that super fight like everyone else.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I got to get running because we got to go play some tennis here with my football peeps. But I am going to actually host the open workouts on Wednesday. So if people are in LA, because we're going to do UFC tonight, I'm going to probably be, I'm going to be down at Staples Center talking with the 4 champs, the 2 champs and the 2 challengers. And so that'll be on UFC tonight. And then I'm going to stay there and host the open workout. So if people are in town, they should come by and say hello, because I always tell people 2 of my favorite things are an open microphone and a crowd. So
you never know what you're going to get, guys.
You never know. You never know. So it's going to be fun. But until then, on social media, Instagram, I'm KB Heat. Twitter, it's Karyn Bryant. YouTube, it's YouTube, it's Karyn Bryant. And also this week, please subscribe if you're watching this on the channel. Subscribe to the Karyn Bryant channel and MMA Heat, because we're going to be all over 227, and you don't want to miss any of the coverage.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel, guys. Karen's going to be all over with her stuff. Follow her on social media. Follow me. I'm at Alan Jouban across everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And lastly, Black Betty, she's treating you right?
Woo! She treated me right. I got to get her fixed up a little more, but my truck finally running, and I'm driving it. It's 100 degrees in the valley right now, and I got a 56 Ford. The stars in the line for the time that it finished. But yeah, on the cool nights is when I like to try to drive it around. But
awesome.
You'll be seeing me around LA, guys. You'll be seeing me driving her around.
I love it. And KG Fresh got his flex game good on posing. Like, come on.
I didn't even tell him to do that. He got all tough. He got all tough when the camera came out. You know, he's got the truck. He's got his pops with him. He got a little confidence going.
So cute. So cute. Awesome. Well, Alan, keep healing up, because we need you back in action. Hopefully you'll be feeling better sooner than later.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching.
Take care, guys.
See ya.